Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, so today I have Jay Avigdor on the line, and he's president and CEO over at Velocity Capital Group. Jay, welcome to the show.
Adam, thank you so much for having me.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about today. So I'm definitely
Yeah.
going to get into the work that you're doing over at Velocity Capital Group. Also want to get into your podcast. Love having fellow podcasters on here. So Chewing Glass, and then I know you have a book coming out as well. Need it, don't want it. So we got a lot to cover. But before we do that, Jay, we'll start this episode the way that we start them all with what we like to call our Mission Matters Minute. So, Jay, at Mission Matters, our aim and our goal is to amplify stories for entrepreneurs, for executives, for experts. That's what we do. Jay, what mission matters to you?
Adam, I've been doing this 18 years. The mission that we've had since inception has always been we want to help entrepreneurs and small business owners obtain capital for their business. That has been the initial premise of the business from the initial business plan up until where we are today while I'm on the podcast here with you. The fact is, business owners have a lack of access to capital consistently, whether it's through banks or financial institutions that take an incredible amount of time and effort and literally almost blood sample to be able to obtain capital for their business.
Mm,
Velocity Capital Group's mantra and model has always been help small businesses obtain capital.
mm,
Then the podcast is about how hard it is for a small business to run opportunities and run operations and obtain small business capital. And the book is about needing it, don't want it. It's about needing to be successful versus the wanting to be successful. It's the entrepreneur that has no other choice but to be successful. So they all truly talk to the same premise, which is small business entrepreneurship and growing the small business of America.
mm. Amazing. Love bringing mission-based individuals on here to share why they do what they do, how they do it, and really what we can all learn from that so we grow together. So great having you on. And Jay, I guess let's go back in time a bit here. So you've been doing this 18 years, but take me back to the beginning. When did you first realize that there was this opportunity or even this issue with business owners like obtaining capital? Like how did that come about?
So I got out of college and had this amazing opportunity. It was this new kind of retro opportunity that had nobody really heard of, right? I remember, when I got the job, I was the seventh hire at the previous company I worked for,
Mm,
and I had a buddy who I was in school with who messaged me on like I think it was Facebook or something like that.
yeah.
And I still have that message somewhere where he's like, "Hey, where are you working these days?" I'm like, "I'm not really sure. I just got a job. I think we do some sort of like mortgage lending or car leasing, I had absolutely no idea what the flip I was talking about. The
Yeah.
truth was is that I was green. I was brand spanking new.
Yeah.
I had never heard about this space, and I don't think anybody really did. And
Mm,
it's come from this kind of like infant, stage of, nobody knows what it is, and it's brand new. So when you talk to a business owner, they're like, what the heck are you talking about, to a mass produced product and brand and industry that has been around now for many, many years and has truly evolved from, what it was to where it is today and where it's going to be going in the near future.
yeah. How did you know, like, at what point? So, okay, I got there early in your career, but we all, many people start careers, myself included. So, for myself, I'll say, I graduated college, I got into a couple different things, and I'm like, and it took me a little time to find my path. Like, you stuck with this. How did you know, or well, how did you know this was for you? Like, because you stuck to it.
So I started at this previous company, not to
Mhm.
mention names.
Sure, sure.
I've always been entrepreneurial as a kid. In my book, I talk about it, but I used to, when I was 4 or 5 years old, I used to gather, sea glass on the floor of the ocean, on the sand, and I would put it up in little bottles and I would sell it to the locals. And I used to
What?
walk around with my friends and collect scrap metal and put it into my friend's truck and sell it in the scrap yard. I used to, flip iPhones and fix the screens. I was always entrepreneurial in every step that I did. I had this like, entrepreneurial bug that I really like. I was fortunate enough to not like grow up with zero means, but
Mhm.
everything that I've had, I've been on my own since I'm truly 14, right? I've paid
Mm.
college, I've paid my own apartments, I've had everything, and every adversity and every hurdle you could possibly imagine thrown at me, from bad employees to COVID to
Mhm.
bad investors to bad partners to bad lines of credit to people
Yeah.
who tried to steal from me to hostile takeover attempts. I've had it all. I've gotten punched in the face more times than Muhammad Ali, right? That's for sure, right? The fact was is that I had no other option. What kept me going was I had this entrepreneurial bug that I was like driven to like a magnet to another magnet. I had to finish what I was going after. I had this, I need to be successful. I don't want to be successful. I needed it because I had no choice. I didn't have financial backing that was going to support me. My parents didn't have a lot of money. I was the youngest of six, and my siblings weren't making money, right? I had
Mm.
no choice. So I forced myself to enjoy the trade, to enjoy entrepreneurship, matter how hard it was or how soft it was or how enjoyable it was at times, to consistently enjoy the process and forget about the product. Forget
Mhm.
about what the end game was and forget about the money and just enjoy the actual process, because then everything else just like figures itself out.
Yeah. Man, I like you, Jay. This is the kind of content we can expect on Chewing Glass, right? Like you got some edge in you, yeah? Tell it
I
like it is.
mean, chewing glass we created because every business
I like this.
every business owner chews glass. It is the actual piece of taking a piece of glass, biting into it, crunching on it, chewing up your lips and chewing up your jaws and inside of your face, and it gets bloody and it's painful. And
True,
literally,
man.
that is exactly what running a small business is, and it goes for everybody, right? That's
Mhm.
from the guy doing $5,000 a month to the business doing $5 billion a month. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter, because every single business goes through its hardships and its hurdle. Elon Musk almost lost Tesla. Bill Gates almost lost Microsoft. Apple almost shut their doors. Right? Every business has had its own adversity. It's had its own troubles. It's had its own struggles.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it, but nobody does. So we don't talk about the success and the watches and the cars and the fancy houses. No, I want to know, what did you go through? How did you get through it? Who punched you in the face and how did that make you better? What
Mhm.
type of scenarios as a business owner did you have to go through to get to where you are today, and how did it make you better? We're talking about the pain, the hardship, the suffering, the sleepless nights, the times you want to pull out your hair, pull out your teeth, you want to give up, you want to jump off a cliff.
Mhm.
Other times. When did you almost give up? When did you almost, call it quits?
Yeah.
God forbid, have this thought of maybe you want to take your life or anything in that mindset. Obviously, not to do that. But you were so close to just like, I'm done. Those moments are the real moments of what it's like to be a small business owner. And that's what we talk
It's great. I wanted to, before we go any further, because I do want to get into some of the things that are happening in the industry overall, because you're unique in the standpoint that you've seen the evolution, especially around revenue-based financing and things like that. So before we go further, maybe get a little specific on what you do at Velocity Capital Group so that we can kind of dig in further into the industry overall.
Absolutely. So Velocity Capital Group was started in the beginning of 2000 or mid 2017, I should say. Started out of a spare bedroom of my home with a folding table and a laptop. Literally was 3 months behind on my mortgage, and I had no cash pretty much in the bank. The only thing I had was like 50K in savings and investment savings account. I liquidated that, put that into my own company. As the story has always gone, I left my old company for various reasons, and I had built them from I was their seventh employee to over 300, trained a bunch of people, went back and forth. I was one of the heads of the company. um, didn't work out. I walked out one day, didn't want to look back. And I'll never forget, and it's in my book, but I'll never forget, whereas I was standing there at the elevator with a box in my hand with all my stuff, and picture sitting at the elevator and pretty much everybody staring at you after literally they pretty much know what would happen.
Wow.
And the person who I one of the main reasons why I left, and he was the driving factor, walked right up to me, next to me, like standing at the elevator, and looked at me and said, "Jay, just remember, you'll never be more than what you were here."
Mm.
That just It was like,
Man.
gasoline on a fire. I'm like,
Wow.
I'm going to prove you wrong so much that you are going to regret ever saying that. And I will never stop until I do. And that was just one of the main motivations that I left that day. I went home. My wife's like, no need to mope. I was like, I'm not moping. I'm motivated. I'm going. The next morning, I was a little depressed. She kicks the bed. She's like, get out of the house, throws me out, go to my friend's office, went on Google, typed in, synonyms for the word speed, because everything that has to do with our business is small business, fast, capital. So, all the different synonyms, I found the word velocity on the bottom of the, alphabetically ordered list. And I took the name, I just played with it in my head, velocity funding, capital funding, velocity. Right? I just played with the variations, came up with
Mhm.
Velocity Capital Group, took it, GoDaddied, and started a domain for a couple bucks, opened an email, went on Wix, created a website for like 30 bucks, and just, free DocuSign, 30-day trial, threw some paperwork together. This was before AI and chat
Yeah.
stuff. Went on Microsoft Word, copied and pasted a bunch of stuff, threw it together, thought it would work, put it on the DocuSign, started popping it out to random people, and kind of, now I'm on, a podcast with Adam Torres.
Wow. What a story.
Yeah, there's a lot that happened in between, but
Of
yeah,
course, but man, what a story.
yeah.
What gave you the confidence in the beginning that you can make this thing happen? I know you didn't have a choice, but like, man, that's like there's jumping off a cliff, then there's jumping off a cliff. And of course there was somebody else in the picture because you mentioned that kicked you out of bed. So like what was that like, man?
Adam, when you have the need to be
Mm,
successful, you don't have anything else. There's no safety chute. There's no parachute to break your fall. There's nothing on the bottom that will, no safety cushion. There's no life vest. This is not, this is the rule of life, right?
mhm.
I don't have wealthy family. I don't have wealthy in-laws.
Sure.
So there was no option. It was either kill or be killed. And I chose to kill, and obviously the best manner. So
Yeah.
I had no choice. It was not dip your toe into the water and see if it's hot or cold. It was jump and swim, and there's no other option. So
Mm,
I took life by the horns and I just ran with it. And
mm.
when adversity came my way and hardship came my way, I punched back and I didn't give up. And what drove me was my wife and my beautiful kids. I have thankfully 5 beautiful kids. I just had one about a month ago. And
Wow, congrats,
you know,
congrats. There you go.
every time I'll thank you. And every time I have another child, it's just another blessing and something else to work harder for. When I wake up in the morning, I literally tell myself in the mirror, I'm broke. And I straight look at the mirror and I say, you're broke. You're broke. You're broke. And I say it many times. There's a reason why I do that because I never want to lose my edge of hustle. No matter how much is in the bank, there's always somebody out there trying to take your lunch money. So you have to fight. And if you don't fight, they'll take it, you'll lose it, and that's that. So you need to fight every single day as if you're broke and your mortgage is going to get, defaulted on, and you're going to lose your house, and your car is going to get repoed, and there's going to be a levy on your bank account. No matter what it is, that's the mindset. You need to be successful. And if you have the mindset of wanting to be successful, maybe you will, maybe you won't. But if you need to be, and again, whether you do or you actually don't, it's the mindset of needing to be successful. You will be successful because you won't give up until you do.
It's great. Let's go a little bit further into obviously capital is your, what you do. You help small businesses, but what are some reasons why, especially for those that maybe haven't accessed different capital sources and things like that? What are some reasons that your clients come to Velocity Capital Group? Can you give me some examples? You don't have to give any names of companies, but just some examples why somebody might, pick up the phone and say, "Hey, you know what? I heard Jay on Adam's podcast. I need to call this guy."
I mean, small businesses have a plethora of reasons of why they need capital. It could be because they have an amazing opportunity in front of them. And if they were to go to the bank, it would take too long. It could be that their credit is not up to snuff and the traditional bank won't approve them. It could be that, you know, I have an example. We have a small business that we've been funding for years,
Mm,
and every couple of months, he's a doctor, and every couple of months he gets a delivery from overseas of syringes, and he has multiple clinics that he uses them for. He's like 30 to 40 clinics, very
mm.
successful gentleman, and he then uses our capital to buy 3 containers of syringes because it's cheaper to buy it by volume, and he
Yeah.
use all of his capital. So he'll take some money from us And then he'll use that money to purchase 3 containers of syringes. He then sells 2 of those containers to his competitor at a margin and an upside for him, which it's still cheaper for them to buy it from him than to buy it in bulk.
Wow. So he
Yeah.
figured it out. He took the risk and
And then he gets free syringes for his facilities,
come
right?
on. I
That
like
is
this
what he does.
guy.
It's not just syringes, but of medical equipment. So everybody has their niche. Somebody is a restaurant. They want to, additional outdoor seating, right?
Mm.
It's going to cost them money for that. 30, 40, $60,000. They cannot just go to the bank and get it by tomorrow. Somebody who lost their fire later in their restaurant and it goes down. That's the epicenter of their business. If they go to the bank, it's going to take them months. They don't have time. They don't have months, right? Somebody who has a business opportunity to buy out their partner. They need capital now. It's not, let's go get approved for XYZ and we have 6 months to wait. They have an Amazon order that, Amazon or Walmart or big company order. Right? I have a customer who literally her one of my favorite. She's a construction company, and she is a one of the main uh, uh, construction companies that works with Lowe's.
Mm.
And she takes funds from us all the time because all of a sudden Lowe's sends her a million orders all at once. Well, she doesn't have the capital to do them all herself, but she
Yeah.
can facilitate them. So she's like, you know what? I'd rather just take on, maybe it's not bank rate money,
Mhm.
but I at least don't lose my biggest customer, which is Lowe's. Right.
Mm.
So it's sometimes cheaper to take capital for your business than to lose a customer because you were unwilling to take capital for your business.
Makes so much sense. That makes so much sense. Where somebody may think, "Oh, I don't want this, that, whatever," but it's like, "You want to lose that customer? Are you kidding me? Like, what are you talking about?"
Yeah,
Oh,
sometimes a little bit of debt is good, but
mhm.
in our scenario, what we do is we are not debt. We are what we call revenue-based finance. We
Mhm.
are purchasing a percentage of your future receivables at a
Mhm.
discounted rate. How do we
Yeah.
say that? It's like saying, Adam, you're wearing a beautiful pin today, right? Adam, your pin, let's make up a number. Let's just say your pin is worth $120,000. I'm making up,
Mhm.
okay? Adam, your business, you need capital. Your pin is your receivables or your future receivables, excuse me. I'll give you 100. That's it. That is
Yeah.
what I'm buying something, aka your future receipts and or receivables at a
Mm.
discounted rate today for cash up front. So I'll buy that pin for 120. Sorry, I'll buy it for 100 and it's worth
Yeah.
120. And over the period of time of those receivables coming in, I will basically get paid that 120 back. Right.
Mm.
So this is not a traditional loan. If your receivables go down, if
Mhm.
your revenues go down, I have to reconcile. I have to basically be in line with what I purchased on your percentage of receivables.
Yeah.
So that is how it is. It's not a traditional loan. It is not a we don't like to say the L word because we're not a loan. L word our word is the loan word in our industry is the 4-letter word, and that's kind of like the joke that we've said in the office. Do not the 4-letter word because that's not what we do.
Yeah. It's great. What kind of, you mentioned a couple industries. I'm curious, and I don't. So you mentioned medical example. You mentioned restaurants. Are you industry agnostic? Is it like if the deal makes sense, you go for it, or is there like specific industries that you work with primarily?
So, I mean, there are hundreds of industries that we work with.
Yeah.
There's probably about 5 to 7 that we shy away from, to be honest,
Mhm.
that are higher risk because of just the way that the industry works. So, there are certain specifics which we will mention, and
Mhm.
there's 5 to 7 total. They're on our website. But there's very, very few that we won't look at. If the business has 3 to 5 months of business bank statements, they're
Yeah.
generating cash flow. They're doing over $20,000 a month in revenue. They've been in business for over 12 months. We will look at that business every single day. We see well over 1,200 to 1,500 small businesses apply every single day. And we're not talking, we're
Wow.
talking literal applications, bank statements, financials, and we have the ability to filter it through our automation. But that gives us the ability to really see a very large sample size of so many different unbelievable businesses, Adam. And I say
Mm.
this, one of my favorite pieces of this job is we get to see every day something that I've never seen yesterday or the day before that or before that, right? I see
Mm.
industries that you would never believe are even a thing. Like I've seen toothpick companies. I've seen NASCAR companies and how they operate. I've seen, construction companies and manufacturing companies. I've seen, online websites.
Well, at that quantity,
There's
you've
there's
seen
there's
it all,
I've
man.
seen every potential industry you can,
Yeah.
like, remotely fathom. I mean, there are I don't even know how
I
many.
get it. I get it
There's
with
so
based off of
many
that
different
quantity.
types, and what's awesome is that we get to learn and we get to understand from these entrepreneurs that we think that we're gonna teach them. It's the opposite. They teach us, and we get to learn new things every single day. It's really awesome.
Yeah. Let's spend some of the time, Jay, that we have left here on the book. So need
Yeah.
it, don't want it. Why this book? Why now?
So there was an article a few years ago by Forbes that came out on me and Velocity, and they reached out to us and my team for me to write a book. And at first, I said no, I wasn't interested. Um, they really loved my story. The growing up with kind of nothing and kind of getting to where I was without
Mm,
any help. I've said it before, even during COVID when everyone was getting the PPP loans and the
yeah.
ERTC, the IDLs, we got none of it. 0.0. I looked at it as a crutch and a handout, and it
Hmm.
was something unearned. And I didn't want to take something that I didn't earn.
Mm,
Um, Now, the truth is that a lot of people that did take them, were not taking them under the right pretense, and they were, I guess you could say, defrauding the government. I didn't have, microscopes on me for anything that may or may not have been done intentionally. So I was like, you know what? We didn't earn it. It's not ours. We're
mm,
passing. Um, and I think that honestly, that was one of the best moves we ever did because we truly had to earn it. Need It, Don't Want It is a book that I agreed to write with my own personal editorial touch. It's a book about, my career and all the trials and tribulations that I've gone through as an entrepreneur. People say it all the time that, oh, these money guys and these banks, they're sitting at the top of a skyscraper, sitting, sipping pina coladas and laughing at the people below.
that's
It's
not true, Jay. No.
so not true. I wish I could say it was. It's so not. We're not FDIC insured. We're not backed by the federal government. We
Mm,
have expenses, we have payroll, we have employees just like every small business. We're just like the run-in-the-mill small business. We have investors to answer to, we have
mm,
boards to talk to, we have lines of credit that want their money. Everybody in a small business is kind of running at the same level, which is whether you're bigger or smaller, you have people to answer to. Now, we are not any different. Maybe our costs, like I said, are not bank related, but in essence, we have employees just like you have employees. We have bills just like you have bills. We have overhead just like you have overhead. We have, increasing costs just like you have increasing costs.
yeah.
We also have, you need capital for your business, and so do we. Our inventory is capital. So everybody is kind of like, why are you different than the other? So when I agreed to write the book, I said that I wanted to have creative capabilities to the book. And I could have just spoken to a ghostwriter and then let them write it and said, have fun. But I specifically didn't do that. And I worked with my ghostwriter, Annette. She's unbelievable. Annette, if you see this, she's spectacular. And we really dove into the mindset of a small business owner with the kind of shadow of what I had to go through. And not to give any of the fun parts of the book away, but the book is I've said it before, but it's done in a way that it's backwards, right? It's completely backwards in a way of
Mm,
the regular chapter of a book is usually between 1 and actually 1 and 10, 1 and 12, etc. I said, no, no, no. We're going to go backwards. We're going to do 12, 11, 10, 9, right? So we're going to go to the from where we are to where we came from. And the last page of the book is, hi, my name is Jay, right? So it's really showing an entrepreneur, all of the hurdles,
mm,
tripwires, struggles, whether it was COVID or bad employees or attempted hostile takeovers or bad
mm,
investors, bad lines of credit, etc. How the story transcribes is, from where we are today, hustle bustle, back in a story setting of where we came from, and it's kind of this kind of backwards memoir in a story setting with all of the hardships and how we got around it, and teaching entrepreneurs, I made this mistake. I
Mm.
also had this problem. I also went through this, like you also go through that. And here's what I did to get around it. Write this down. Talk about this. Talk to this employee about the right. There's two ways to talk to people, right?
Yeah.
Here's the every business has to pay tax. Here's the best way to do it without getting in trouble, right? So it's all the problems and issues that I had to go through. And I'm basically saying, here's my story. There's a tripwire and there's also a tripwire. Don't step on
Mm.
that and make sure you don't do that because I did it wrong. And I could say this, Adam, for every single time there was a tripwire or an issue or a hurdle, I've stepped on it. A landmine, one of those laser wire things that you get stuck. If there was something in the way, I've tripped on it and I've learned how to get around it. And that's the hardest part. And that's our way of telling, entrepreneurs it's kind of this, like I said, a story setting while also giving my story and explaining to entrepreneurs that it's okay to fail because I've done it, but it's how you get up. It's not about how you fall.
Mm. Jay, this has been great having you on today, man. If somebody's listening or watching this, and if they want to listen to the show, of course, Chewing Glass, if they're a business owner and they have a need to look into what's going on over at Velocity Capital Group, and of course, if they want to, stay in touch so that they get the book when it finally drops, how do people connect with your ecosystem overall?
Yeah, you can find Velocity at on Instagram and on LinkedIn, Velocity Capital Group. On Instagram, it's at Velocity CG, and then on Instagram, my page is at Avigdor, or Jay Avigdor, and you can find on our website velocitycg.com to apply for financing, or if you're a commercial loan broker or a revenue-based finance or merchant cash advance broker, you can apply on our website directly. But Adam, I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been great. And for everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so that you can click on the links, head right on over and connect with Jay and his team, put in that application. And don't forget to check out that podcast, Chewing Glass. I know Jay's on fire. I mean, that's a great show. Listen to it.
The podcast is at the Chewing Glass Pod. And you can find that on YouTube and all over social media.
Yeah, definitely go check that out. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. You heard me correct. Each and every day, we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So hit that subscribe or follow button. And Jay, man, congrats and looking forward to reading that book. Have a great rest of your week.